If you're struggling to get your mindset right, to build your confidence so that you can achieve your dream life or your dream goal, this is the video that you need to listen to. What are the main pain points that you are addressing?
Pain points that I'm addressing are confidence issues, so people with self-esteem, low self-esteem, people with executive dysfunction, so people that really struggle to get up in the morning and do the most basic of tasks. Habit building as well. A lot of people think that they are not in control of what goes on in their life and how they build their dreams and this dream, quote unquote, dream life that they want. But I say, no, it's absolutely possible.
So I've got Nikki here.
And my business is The Mind Hacker.
How do you coach people who come to you with some of their lack of motivation problems?
It's a broad spectrum. Basically, we focus on a couple of different pillars. So I take myself, for example, this is kind of why I started the business, was I was in a very low place. I didn't have the motivation. I was quite depressed. I was suffering from OCD and generalized anxiety disorder. And so I kind of thought, what are the things that are going to help people get to that initial baseline that quote unquote normal people are at on a daily basis? People suffering with mental health issues, they're not there. And it's a combination of things. So it's our habits, like our sleep, our eating, and our how we move our body on a daily basis, and then also our mindset. So how can we be resilient when we're faced with hardships in our life? That's kind of where the pillars, I like to call them, to have finding motivation and creating discipline in our lives.
Do you find a lot of younger people these days struggle with that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I think not so much motivation, but more figuring out what they want to do. It's more confusion and seeing things on social media and seeing people doing really well for themselves, or this illusion that there's this perfect life. But they're like, well, I'm not doing anything with myself, so am I not doing good? Am I not good enough?
I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand, not like you guys. So do you think that the problem lies a lot in social media?
I think it can. I think that your relationships and your family dynamic also plays a big part in how you feel as you become an adult. I think that I would say it's a mixture of things. It's like nature versus nurture. I also think sometimes chemically we do have brain imbalances in our brain. So it's a mixture, I would say.
It's very hard to compare yourself with people who seem like they've got the perfect life, the perfect body, the perfect everything.
Relationship, whatever.
You only see the snippets.
You see the highlight reel.
On
all the good things and just this amazing life.
And you start comparing your inside with everyone's outside.
Especially for young people who are very impressionable and trying to figure out who they are and their identity. When you're faced with, this is what I should be doing, it creates a conflict, I think, internally for these young people.
You put yourself on social media, you will have to accept that you're out there to be judged and criticised. It's got to build a very thick skin for that. And if you don't have that resilience and that thick skin, you won't succeed. It was not sustainable if you just keep taking everything personally.
I think it's a specific character that's able to really put themselves out there, especially in content creation. You really you're, as you said, you have to have that thick skin and the ability to, get up and go again, even if you've got a hater online or someone in your comments saying something not nice, or you're not getting the views you want to get, whatever it might be.
Or you're overcritical with your own videos as well, because a lot of people would just look at the videos and just can't press the post button because they don't like a little part of that. You've got to remember that you are your worst critic, and no one is really looking as closely as you do.
It's the spotlight effect. I always talk about this with my clients. It's basically, we think we have this massive spotlight on us at all times, and it's just not the case. Because
we're also self-centered.
Yes, exactly. But if you realise you post the video, you post the reel or whatever, people, actually want to see you trying. And people that are doing well, they want to see you do good as well.
There are a lot of other people who judge you. Like my daughter, who was online at a very young age, coming from the high school stage, you are exposed to a lot of judgment, and you have to see those people every single day. So in retrospect, I don't know if it was right to start that young. I think when you start in uni or when you start out of high school, it's a lot easier because you don't have to deal with it every day.
At a young age, you're open to a lot more criticism. People don't really have, they're figuring out their morals as well, whether they think it's right or wrong to be kind or be hateful in some cases. So I think, and I
think they're naive. If you put yourself on social media, you think, oh, she's vain, or she's just full of herself, and they don't understand that you're trying to achieve something out of it. It's not about vanity, it's about whatever the end goal is.
I don't even think that's just with children though. I think that's with adults as well.
True.
Like, unfortunately, maybe it's on a lesser scale, but we definitely, I know personally, I've seen it with adults as well, where, you know, someone puts themselves out there and they're getting shut down. But I think anyone that's doing well for themselves will have respect for someone else that's going to give it a shot.
I met Nikki at one of the parties that we threw for like a content creators party, and all the people at that party were very supportive. I think you misjudge people who are on social media. They look a little bit intimidating because they're on social media and you sort of see, you know, their beautiful lives and all that stuff. But a lot of the girls that I meet, they are so down to earth and they're so friendly and very relaxed and very casual and very authentic. I love meeting content creators because I feel like they have been through so much judgment that they don't judge others because they understand it.
Exactly. It's a good reciprocal relationship to have, isn't it?
It is,
To put yourself, be vulnerable and to be accepted for it as well.
And if someone comes to you and says, look, Nikki, I'm feeling a little bit unsure about my direction, or I'm lacking motivation, I feel down. Like, how do you work through that with them?
So when I was developing my business, I developed this theory called the RBA system, and it stands for reprogram, believe, and aligned action. So I kind of looked at what successful people that were happy in their lives and found purpose, what was different about them, and what did they do to change their lives, or how were they living on a daily basis, basically. And the first step we do is we look at reprogramming our subconscious beliefs. So you walk through life with a set of beliefs. Could be, I'm really good at this, or I'm not so great at this. It could be a really negative one or a really positive one. It could be anything in between, basically. And so we look at all these beliefs that you're holding, going back to even our childhood, and take it one step by step, picking out, identifying these beliefs and saying, is this something that I want to show up in my life with now? And then we'll move on to beliefs. So if you stripped all these old limiting beliefs, let's call them, away from yourself, if you woke up tomorrow with a fresh slate, what would you want to believe? You can do that. Like, it's very possible. You don't have to think what you used to think. You can change it today. And then
how do you go about changing it today? Because it's easier said than done, I think.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of things. So my background's in criminology and psychology, and through my own extensive psychology appointments, I use IFS, which is internal family systems, and it basically works through identifying parts of yourself that maybe are not preferable and speaking to them, and maybe finding out whereabouts they've been frozen in time. So if you're feeling these really big emotions, like you get really angry, or you're ashamed, or you feel a lot of guilt about things, it can show up in your life in different ways. But usually this version of ourselves that is showing up is a younger version of ourselves that wasn't able to process this big emotion. So I know it's a lot. It's a little bit confusing, but my clients and I, we work through it as identify this younger version of yourself. What would they need to hear in that moment to not feel guilt, shame, fear, anxiety? And then we show ourselves compassion. So when we're compassionate towards ourselves, it's almost like a release of this this big emotion that we've been holding on to so tightly.
Yes.
And it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight, but I found that the more I did it, the easier it was to be compassionate towards myself.
Yeah.
And then the easier it was to be kind and move on in my life and find motivation and do the things I actually wanted to do.
Have the courage to
Yes,
go and
exactly.
do it. That must be a very long process, I can imagine. I think the first part is in actually admitting and recognizing that is a problem.
I think that's the hardest part for most people, believe it or not, is when they come to me, they're like, they can't admit that that there's maybe something that's not working for them. It's very difficult to get to that step.
Yeah, because we've tried to work so hard to cover it ourselves. I
Exactly.
think. Yeah.
Because we don't want to be vulnerable.
No.
It goes back to that content creation and that vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for us as humans to put ourselves out there for scrutiny and for criticism. And when we go into therapy or into these mindset sessions, my clients are essentially putting a lot of trust in me that I'm going to handle their issues and their problems with care.
What are your thoughts on vulnerability?
It is the most difficult thing to do in the world. I think being vulnerable, whether it's putting yourself in front of a camera, opening up to a friend or your therapist, it is so scary, but the payoff is the most amazing thing in the world. You are able to be freer with yourself and feel lighter in your soul and your mind and your body, knowing that there's trust and respect in these relationships and in yourself, essentially.
Who are your main clients?
It's a range. My youngest client is 15, so quite young.
Yeah.
And then my oldest client is 65.
Wow.
So I do have a range, but I would say the majority are between 20 to 25 years old. I work with a range of different people, so people that are high-performing young individuals that are entrepreneurs, content creators, people wanting to start their own businesses, that are really looking to level up their lives. That's kind of one aspect of things. And then I also work with people on the NDIS, so the Disability Insurance Scheme. And those people from the NDIS are usually suffering with ADHD and executive dysfunction, and they're struggling to get up out of bed in the morning, brush their teeth, go to school, maintain a job, and maintain their mental health at the same time. So it's a mixture. Yeah.
Where is the executive dysfunction coming from? Like, what causes that?
I think the ADHD does cause that. So it's the focus on specific things and then not wanting to focus on other things that might make them able to integrate into society. So I think maybe, for example, I might have a client that is very focused on doing content creation or editing their videos. It might be the only thing they want to focus on, though.
Because they're hyper-focused.
Because they're hyper-focused, but then they're not able to do their schoolwork or rock up to their job or go to sleep on time. And so it creates this almost disconnect in their brain because they've got family members saying, oh, well, you have to do this. Your boss is telling you, you have to rock up to work, or your teachers. And so it becomes this internal battle of, I can't get myself to stop. Or start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be either.
Yeah, you've got so many things that you're doing that you get paralyzed. And you don't know which one to do
Exactly,
first.
it's an analysis paralysis.
Yeah. At the same time, you're doing your content creation. What is your content creation about? Like, what's your platform about?
So I mainly work off of TikTok.
Yes.
I'm a little bit on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
I like working on my own personal brand as well as my business.
Of course. Yeah.
But I create content on mindset hacks. So that's my whole business. The Mind Hacker is about you can hack your mind. You can change what you think. So it's a lot of personal development stuff, self-improvement, your psychology, how you can motivate yourself to get up and go after your dreams.
Yeah. Why do you think TikTok works better than Instagram for your business?
I think the reach, I have seen more traction through TikTok than Instagram. I think Instagram is good for long-term growth. I think when I find clients through TikTok, usually they'll convert to my Instagram before they become a client. Yeah. So that's what I find.
I often describe to people when they ask me about what's the difference between TikTok and Instagram, I say imagine that TikTok is you standing on the street handing out flyers so that people can come into your shop or your cafe or whatever you're selling. It's a busy street. There's so many people there. The whole trick is to be able to stop them to take a flyer, or to be able to stop them so that they will listen to you. So TikTok is top of funnel, and then Instagram is more middle funnel, where once you're able to stop them on the street, you're able to lure them into your shop, and Instagram is when they're in your shop. The whole aim when you get there is to keep them in your shop, so keep them on Instagram by providing, you know, the value and whatever the aesthetics, if that's what you're going for. But yeah, definitely TikTok is, the algorithm is definitely top of funnel. Yeah, I find that Instagram is important because it is the middle funnel, and that's where you start converting
into the sale. I think Instagram is, there's a bit more trust in the legitimacy of you and your business compared to TikTok. People
are on TikTok to scroll. People are on Instagram to know you. They're already in your space on Instagram, whereas TikTok, you're in the public space. I've been just dealing with ads at the moment in my business, and I find that TikTok ads are great for traffic, but Meta ads are much better for conversion. Yeah, you've got to build the traffic before you build the conversion. So you can't just go straight into sales, because a sales cycle takes a lot of touch points, like 7 touch points actually, before they actually start converting. And you said that this business came out from your own personal experience. At which point did you think, I want to make this into a business?
Obviously, I'd gone through my own experience, as you said. I think that was the inspiration behind it. But I think that I saw that also there were so many other young people that were struggling like I was struggling. I think they were unsure and confused, and I think I found a way that was a bit more simple and direct, and that I think that was the turning point for me, where I was like, yeah, I want to make this into a business, because I see people that I loved, friends that I knew, strangers going through all these similar issues. Initially I wanted to work with just young people, but it's obviously branched out. And I realised that there's a huge gap for all kind of ages and people.
What other goals do you want to achieve with this business?
I would like to train people to teach what I'm teaching at the moment. I think that would be how I would scale the business. And then I think I would probably niche down again. I think that I like how it's general and I can take in a lot of clients, but I think I would focus on one specific area, whether it be high-performing young people or maybe executive dysfunction, because I think that that's a wide spectrum.
What issues do you like working with most?
Personally, I like working with ADHD, executive dysfunction. I think that's really interesting. I think that I can provide the most service there. That's what I'm good at. I'm good at being patient with people and understanding what their pain points are. So I do enjoy that. I think that that would probably be the area that I would go into.
How do you get them to focus? How do you get them to overcome the executive dysfunction?
It's a range of tools, but I would say I'm a big calendar person. I say, okay, we're writing everything down. Body doubling is a big thing, so just being in the presence, or sometimes I'll have the Zoom up with my client and they'll just start doing things because they have someone holding them accountable.
So what's body doubling?
So it's if you were struggling with executive dysfunction and you were like, I can't start my work, I'd say, okay, Vic, let's jump on a call, or I'll come and sit with you, and then you would find it much easier knowing that I was there holding you accountable to get your tasks done. Interesting, very niche, but effective. Writing things down. So I say, okay, we're going to have one diary. We're not going to have post-it notes. Usually the mind's in a lot of different places with ADHD. So it's, okay, one diary or one calendar where you're writing everything down, or lists. So things that you can come back to and remind you.
Of course. It just organises the brain. I've just been recently diagnosed with ADHD.
Really?
At 50.
How does the diagnosis feel? Because it can be a relief for some.
I always suspected it, and I never really had the problem because I'd never had executive dysfunction. I always had that hyper focus. I'm curious and I want to do so many things. I've got so many hobbies, so many things that I always am into, and always seeking that dopamine rush. finally got the diagnosis, I just sat in my car and cried for 30 minutes. I didn't understand why I was so upset. Like, I think it was relief, and I think it was...
It's like knowing, finally, and having the...
explanation to all the things I thought that was wrong with me. There's so many different ADHD types.
Absolutely.
So you can't just put everyone in the same box. And it manifests differently in genders as well as age, and
well, usually women are diagnosed much later because a lot of the studies on ADHD were done on boys and men.
Yeah, because really they were destructive, and women internalizes that hyperactivity. Even if they don't concentrate at school, they mask it really well so that it doesn't get detected. Different people who function differently. Like, I did really well at school. I never was able to keep a job if I was bored. Having my own business is great because I only do what I enjoy doing. So I'm really good at hyper-focusing. I'm really good at learning new things.
Everyone has a different diagnosis and different symptoms
Yes.
and things that are going to show up. So not everyone will have executive dysfunction. You sound like your executive functioning is really good, but then you said you might not be able to hold down a job. So with a client, I would say, okay, well, let's focus on just that aspect. What tools can we implement into your life? Another big thing with ADHD in women especially is the self-criticism. The criticism is what I find a really big problem. I think they are doing usually really well. So a lot of my clients with ADHD, they perform really well in their jobs, in their school, in their work, whatever they're doing. But then they're like, well, it's just not good enough. They'll take a small criticism and it will become they'll blow it up into a really big thing.
Yeah, that was probably my main thing. The reason why I wanted to get help was because of the escalation. Blowing little things out of proportion, it's more anxiety. The hyper-focusing on a thought that makes you really angry or emotional. I realised why I just kept doing that. Like, my husband would say, why are you so stressed on something that hasn't happened yet? Or relax. That's the worst thing that he could say to me is to relax. He just didn't understand that my mind just escalates the smallest thing into all these different parallel universes. What could happen and
what if?
Yeah, and first I thought that was just common sense. I just love the psychology of how people digest TikTok. It's like a game to me. Like, how can I get this video to go viral? What can I use? What can I change in the hook? A little bit of a formula game for me.
It is a game. I definitely think that you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah,
like, you got to be playing it and going with what works and what doesn't.
The psychology game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These crazy hooks where they would have someone like throwing water in someone's face. I'd watch it because I'm like, that's such a shock. You have that shock factor. It's so shocking that it's catching attention.
It's different.
Yeah.
And then after a while it gets too same. And then people get bored of that, so they move on. So it's very, very fast moving.
Fast
pace. It's not just one formula fits all.
People are really looking to be part of something, and I think that's where social media comes in. I think, young people are really drawn to it again because they're confused about what to do or where to go, and so they latch on to content creators and people that are posting in certain niches or whatever it might be, and they find comfort in in strangers. In strangers, which is just such a crazy world we live in.
But I think TikTok is really not for your friends and family. I think being on TikTok is for the people who need to hear what you have to say.
If you have something to say, there will always be another side to that, and someone that wants to listen. It's like a coin. It's got two sides at all times. There's never you can put something out there will be someone that's looking for what your your advice, your service, your product, whatever it is.
What do you find works for you, your particular topic?
Well, I think I've just gotten the hang of hooks. Like, I've definitely found my niche in hooks and where people are being drawn in. I think when I'm authentic to myself, I think that my advice comes across better. I think when I'm too
vulnerable,
when I'm vulnerable, exactly. I think when I'm too trying to grab attention, it doesn't read as well. Almost
people see through that. It's almost not authentic.
Exactly. I think authenticity has worked really well for me, especially in my niche. In psychology, people are looking for someone to be vulnerable and be raw about what they're preaching. So I think that has worked for me. In specific about life advice, what I think I would like to know as a young person, I had a video to 60,000 views, so that's like my best one today, which is really good. 5 lessons I wish I knew at 18. So, and that worked really well, and I had a lot
like
of
the big sister kind of
the
advice.
big sister advice. And I think I had a lot of young girls message me on TikTok saying, this was really helpful, and I appreciate it. I needed to hear it. But now I try and focus on speaking to the customer. What value can I add to their lives? Those videos do better, I see, than if I'm talking about myself. Also storytelling. I think when people hear a story, it's very engaging. To be, when you can put a lesson in a story, even better. Those videos do well, and I get clients from those videos when I combine the story and a lesson. I think I get the most traction from there. I think there's a point system as well, which I've learned from TikTok, is that a like equals 1 point, a comment is 2, a share is 3.
A share is the highest. If you're looking at engagement, a share is the highest rank. If the video is shareable, like a pyramid sort of section, you could share it to all these people. They share it to their connection share it to their connection. So that pushes that video out. Being really useful and relatable or really funny.
Those do well.
Always answer all of my comments so that they feel like they're heard, and again, just
acknowledge.
Creating negative engagement works really well, because I get people fighting in the comments. Like, people have serious conversations.
Controversial ones.
Give me 5 things that you would say to your younger self.
To my younger self, I would say, don't rush into any big commitment. I think take your time to think about what you want to do. I think it's not easy to know what you want to do, and that's okay. Don't rush into anything. They'll open up for you as you get older. I would say be authentic to yourself. I think being authentic to who you are will attract the right people into your life. I think when I was younger, I really placed a huge emphasis on friends and who liked me and who didn't like me. But I think as I learnt to be okay with who I was and standing in my own shoes, the people that liked me, they came along. And now I have these really great friendships that I've cultivated. I think the third thing would be, be selective with your friends. It's really important who you surround yourself with.
They say that you reflect the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
I completely agree. Like, if I have 2 friends that are content creators, I'll be the third. If I have 2 friends who smoke or do drugs or go out and party all the time, I'll be the third. What are their habits? They'll show you yours as well.
Well, it's similar to the fruit bowl. If you put a rotten fruit in amongst with some good fruit, the other fruit will go rotten.
Well. Exactly. So I think that would be it. I also said in this video, the TikTok that I posted, that I should ditch the heavy makeup. Stop wearing the huge fake eyelashes. And I used to wear the biggest push-up bra, and I was just like, you're beautiful. Like, naturally, you're so young and beautiful, and you're okay. Things will work out. Like, they will. They get better.